Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. And I am joined here, as always, by the man who was just as pumped up to see Baker Mayfield and the Browns do well as I was to see the Ravens do well as well. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm good. What a game that was.
Yeah.
I guess it might be the game of the year. I don't know. I haven't looked at the schedule to determine that, but...
Well, yeah, we'll talk about it in just a second. Just a little housekeeping before we get to started. We will be on Twitch as well. We're trying to see how that goes. So we should be on YouTube and Twitch right now. If you want to watch on Twitch instead, you can do that. Not entirely sure how it works. I'm not sure if you leave comments there, will it show up here? But yeah, if you guys prefer Twitch, check that out. We're just trying to see how it goes. But let's just get into it. I mean, this was an awesome game. As always, we start off with the Monday night game before we get into our picks of the week. What were your thoughts as the leader of the Browns fan clubhouse?
Yeah, I mean, this game had just about everything. It had terrible refereeing. It had quarterbacks making bad decisions and coming back and looking awesome. It had quarterbacks maybe taking a shit in the locker room. This had everything. I mean, it was just a really fun game to watch, and something that Monday Night Football really needed. I felt like those last 6 minutes were as good as football gets, in my opinion. And just a really great game. And those look like two playoff teams, don't they? They really do.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I think this is one of the best regular season games maybe I've ever seen, and I really believe that. You got to think all of everything on the line. Cleveland trying to win a division, the Ravens just trying to get into the tournament at the end of the season. You have the team that literally was stolen from Cleveland Browns fans. The Cleveland Browns became the Ravens. This is a rivalry that should be a great rivalry, but because of Cleveland's lack of winning, it's really became one-sided. Now, all of a sudden, they get to have this back-and-forth battle, and this felt like the rivalry that it should have been for a while. It was just incredible back and forth. Both quarterbacks were awesome in this. Both made mistakes, but as a whole, it was 47-42. You don't get that kind of score without quarterbacks being great. And, of course, the Lamar Jackson coming out from the tunnel to save the day at the end there was incredible. And I have to say, I think there's no chance that he was pooping. Like, I think that very little chance, I should say. It seems like I'm almost as sure as I've ever been in anything that he just had cramps, because all of the evidence points to that. And it seems like the only evidence that points to the other thing is that he ran kind of funny. But he also did that going back onto the field. I think he was just wearing cleats on a hard floor, which makes it difficult.
Yeah, there's that. And I mean, in all honesty, I don't think he was, because personally, I don't think it would have taken that long.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of gastrointestinal problems some of these guys have, but I don't think shouldn't take you an hour to finish that.
Yeah. So I don't think he was. It was a funny storyline, which made the game even more compelling. The Trace McSorley appearance was interesting, and that's the thing I said, though, that the Browns didn't lose it by Lamar coming back into the game and hit. They blew that coverage on the Hollywood Brown play. As soon as he rolled out, they thought he was running, even though, with the whole cramp situation, who really knew how much he could actually move at that point. They sold out for the running play, though, as soon as he rolled out, and they blew the coverage. But I thought the game was lost when they gave up a huge third down play to Willie Snead when McSorley was in the game, and they kept giving up these yards and these chunk plays to McSorley. And it's just like, if that guy gets on the field, I think this offense for the Browns is definitely a playoff offense. But if you're going against Trace McSorley, man, you got to get off the field. It's as simple as that, especially in these games. You got to get off the field against that guy.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, even in And in the first time McSorley came in, the only reason they got off the field was because really of mistakes that happened when unrelated. I think that I do think though that it's fair to say for Cleveland they were banged up, right? Like their defense was injured. That's a huge factor in it, and they won't be entirely healthy, but they will at least get some of their players back, which I do think matters. And I think that at the end of the day, this was I really do feel like neither defense was giving up 40 points bad in this game. I think that this was a lot of good offense beating decent defense in this one on both sides.
Yeah. No, I can definitely agree with that. I thought, especially, I thought Baker struggled a little bit in the first half, and that interception was a bad throw. The thing is that the blitz disguise got him pretty good on that interception. He was surprised by it. The linebacker made a great play jumping on that, but he also stared down the receiver. I'm trying to think of how to pronounce that. He also stared down the receiver, which made it easy for the linebacker to make that play. But then as soon as he came out after that was just unreal. Like those last two or three drives were just unreal football from him. That's some of the best football I've ever seen play. And this is a secondary we regard as a top 5 secondary in the league.
Yeah, no, and I mean, again, they had some injuries, but still, they're still really good. And I thought that when Baker threw that interception, it was like, here we go again, right? He did so much well in the first half, but the Baker Mayfield haters can easily just say, well, early on, it was a lot of Stefanski sort of rollouts, a lot of razzle-dazzle. He still made a few good throws, but it was a lot of the scheme. And then he throws the interception, and it's like, there's your mistake. There's your ammo. And then it felt like he had to come back. He had to. There wasn't he couldn't go out with a whimper, and he didn't. And even though they lost, it's interesting because Browns fans are not saying this is the moral victory. Browns fans are still upset. Browns fans, and I get it, you lose to a division rival. You're tired of moral victories if you're a Browns fan. But as a neutral party, this was a moral victory for Cleveland. They showed the world what they can do, and Baker showed the world what he can do.
Yeah, no doubt. They're almost there, man. I mean, to come back after getting that ass whooping that they had from earlier in the season, to come back and play like this, I thought was really incredible. They had a few things they got to clean up. You can't miss kicks like that against good teams. They missed too many kicks. And just little things here and there, but I thought they were right there till the very end. And you could honestly say that if they take 30 more seconds off the clock on their drive, they probably win the game. They probably make it a insurmountable comeback at that point if there's no time left, obviously, on that last drive. But at the same time, this is big for the Ravens too. I mean, I think one of the things I've said about Lamar is like, when this team goes down, is this guy going to make enough throws to win some football games? And he made some great throws on that last drive. He made some really nice throws. He got the team down the field and did exactly what he needed to. It wasn't necessarily a huge comeback win, but at the same time, he was still able to bring this team back and make the throws when he needed to.
Well, yeah, it's really. I feel like both of these guys like broke the narrative that they keep getting forced into. And in the first half, they were both right in that narrative, right? Lamar missed some throws and was really relying on the running game. Mayfield was a lot of rollouts, and it was the running game definitely being effective for him as well. And then in the second half, it was Mayfield just taking shots downfield and making these incredible throws and not making mistakes after that one. And for Lamar, it was his arm that finally got it done. It was just an awesome game. So much drama. Maybe the one negative thing I'll say is Cleveland, get it together on that 4th down and 5 play. I mean, you can't have literally, you give up containment. Lamar Jackson gets to the outside, and then 4 out of the 5 eligible receivers are wide open. Not ideal.
Yeah, I would say that, and the officiating was probably the two most atrocious thing. It affected both sides, but it was just awful.
But it did go away, sort of. I felt like in the second half it got a lot better. The first half was terrible. And also, how about, we haven't talked about it, Hollywood Brown? It drops everything all game, and then he's the guy who on 4th down and 5 gets the touchdown. Like, you can't write it any better. Yeah.
I mean, this was a this is, I have been pretty hard on him compared to a lot of other receivers in the league. And, it wasn't a great game for him, but he made the biggest catch when he had to. The Bakersfield Brown nicknames were pretty funny, but you can't say it after he catches the game-winning touchdown pass. So,
yeah. No, one more question, and then we'll get to our picks. I think this is interesting. Do you think OBJ makes Mayfield worse? Because typically I hate these questions and think that it's never true. I actually think that is true in this case. I actually think that are the Cleveland Browns better with OBJ or not? That's a different question. But I definitely think Mayfield is the better quarterback when he doesn't. It's similar to, I always go back to Matt Stafford when Calvin Johnson left. No team is better without Calvin Johnson, but Stafford became a better quarterback when he didn't have someone that he was constantly feeding the ball to. And it's less about, is OBJ a good teammate or not? I don't really care about that. It's more just about not having the number one receiver who you feel like you almost just have to throw it to him because he's OBJ.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I haven't looked at I haven't broken down the film as is he actually reading the field better and going through progressions more without OBJ out there? Well, I know a lot of people are saying that, so it could honestly be true. But I mean, at the same time, when OBJ's out there, there probably is 5 or 10 plays in their playbook that says, hey, you're going to roll out, OBJ's doing this, you're going to hit him right here. Okay. And that's the plan. And that probably forces Baker to force throws that he doesn't want to because he feels like he has to get OBJ to ball. And, for as much as I like Beckham's game and I think some of the stuff's overblown, he's clearly not exactly a walk in the park to play with sometimes, especially as a quarterback to be with and be on the sideline with. Maybe that's something that, plays into it too. So I think all of it probably leans to that maybe he's a more complete quarterback without OBJ out there. I'm sure the Browns would still like Odell Beckham out there, but who knows?
Yeah, and it can be both. It can be the team isn't as good, but he's a better quarterback. But yeah, I mean, last thing I'll say before we move on is I think there's 3 quarterbacks I've been pleasantly surprised with this season. Josh Allen probably the most, though, because I didn't think he had a chance, and he's been great. Phillip Rivers and then Baker Mayfield. I mean, the reason why I wasn't high on Cleveland was because of Baker. He just keeps his team in it. Incredible job by him. Let's move on. Time for our picks of the week. I have retaken the lead. Remember, lowest score wins. It's like golf. Kyle, you had it and blew it.
I did. I said it was a tough week. Missing my lock, I made the mistake of betting on Daniel Jones. You should never do that. So I'm going to bounce back, though. I came back once before. I can do it again.
Yeah. Luckily, I was much smarter and betted on the Atlanta Falcons. That was great by me.
That's always a good idea.
Yes. All right. So because I am in the lead, you will be picking first. Feels so good. Feels so good to get the second pick. Who are you going to give to me to start this thing off?
All right. This will be a good game. This will be tight. I think it'll be interesting to master and protege as it goes. New England at Miami. Who do you got?
Yep, that was number 1 on my list as well. This one's tough because I do think the Miami Dolphins have a reputation of being the better team. They are currently 2-point favorites, although keep in mind they're at home, so that might be a factor in. The first time New England blew the brakes off of Miami, I know this is I don't know how they're totally different teams, right? That was week 1. I'm giving the edge to New England. I would have given you this game because I didn't want to take it, but I'm gonna go with your guys. I'm gonna go with New England. I just think that I haven't seen. I'm too focused on week 1, even though they are two very different teams.
Yeah, the thing is that I just as I said last Sunday, the Patriots' talent definitely isn't there on certain parts of their roster. They don't have a great run defense. They don't have a great passing game. But at the same time, we have a coach that's going to win us a lot of football games. This team probably shouldn't be 6-7 right now, but it is because we have the best head coach in football. That's not a debate. I don't think it's going to be a lot like week 1. I think it's going to be a little more open. But Miami's still 7th worst in rushing yards allowed per game. And that's kind of the one thing that New England can do on the offensive side of the ball. I could see New England moving the ball, controlling the clock a little bit in this one. And, if they don't have to throw it, then Cam's not going to make a whole lot of mistakes. I would probably lean New England in this one too. Just, Belichick gets it done in this.
Yeah, well, and let me sort of explain why I'm going to go New England. There's a lot I like about Miami. There's a ton I like about them. I love their secondary specifically. Secondary is not going to matter that much in this game because, for New England, they never have guys open. So what's the difference? Whether you're doing that well, they're going to run the ball a lot, and they showed week one they can do that. I think on the flip side, we've seen Bill Belichick just destroy rookie quarterbacks. I actually wouldn't be shocked if Tua does better than most rookie quarterbacks do against New England, but I just don't know if it's going to be enough. I just think I have to give the slight edge to the home team or to the away team on this one.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm looking it up right now because I actually forgot to look at this. I was going to see the Dolphins injury report for this week because they were missing a ton of guys by the end of that game. I know Gesicki missed some time. I know Parker missed some time. If some of those guys are out, I think that's just going to be really tough. So, I mean, I think I'd lean New England on this one too.
Yeah, and I don't know. For Miami, this is a game you have to win, though. So that's maybe the plus side for Miami is they're going to be more desperate in this one. I know that it's New England; they always try and win, but maybe you could get just maybe only giving 95% in this one.
Yeah, I think I just saw that Gesicki is not going to play, so I think that's a big thing too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's tough. That is tough. I mean, I don't have too much else to say about this one. Do you have any final thoughts on it? You're the Pats fan.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see how they manage Tua in this one and how they manage that passing game because, like I said against when they played the Chargers a few weeks ago, which was 45-0. They're going to throw a lot of things at Tua that he probably hasn't seen before in the NFL. They're going to throw a lot of things at him, and they're going to try and take away part of the field with Stephon Gilmore, who's been fantastic since November. I think that's going to be a huge problem for Miami, and if they can manufacture some yards with whether it's this Ahmed or Myles Gaskin or one of these guys can manufacture some yards on the ground, I think it's going to be tough sledding for this Miami defense to get moving. I think the Patriots can manage the game that way, and then they typically find advantages wherever they can.
Yeah, it should be an interesting game. We'll take one question on it. David in the chat says, do you think the Dolphins could beat the Steelers if they make the playoffs? Maybe I'll just I think they've shown they can beat any team. And I actually would really like that matchup because Pittsburgh throws the ball a lot. So maybe if Miami gets that 7 seed, now that we're talking through it, and that's kind of an out there question, but I actually kind of like it. Because if they got the 7 seed, Pittsburgh's number 2, I could actually see that being a potential upset.
Yeah. Remember, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago now that when that young Jaguars defense went up against Pittsburgh and kind of dominated them? I can see this defense doing something very similar against this Pittsburgh offense in the playoffs. Yeah.
The Adam Gase-led Dolphins did not do too well against Pittsburgh in the playoffs.
No, they didn't. But
shocker there. We'll move on.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to give you a game. I'm going to give you one because I think the underdog is going to win here. It's the Eagles-Cardinals, and I think the Eagles are going to win, so I want you to pick the Cardinals.
Well, joke's on you. I'm picking the Eagles. So, I got the Eagles in this one. A lot of things trending in their favor. They are 11-3 in the Doug Peterson era without Carson Wentz on the field.
I saw that.
And not only that, besides that, that's mostly joking, but also kind of true. They're top half in the league in run defense, and they're also Kyler Murray is 5-2. I believe the Cardinals are 5-2 when Kyler Murray rushes for over 50 yards. I think they'll be able to neutralize that. And the strength of this Cardinals defense is their pass rush and passing game right now. And we just saw what they can do running the football. I think Philly's going to torch them a little bit and win this one.
I mean, I think that now I almost feel like I want to argue for the Cardinals just because I want to argue against you. I had so much to say. It's like when you're mad at someone and then they just apologize right away, and you're like, oh, I had so much I was ready to argue about. No, I like the Eagles a lot more when they have Jalen Hurts in there. I think Jalen Hurts is really good. Like, I legitimately think he's a much better quarterback than Carson Wentz, and I think he does a lot for this team well. He wasn't perfect in his first 2 games, but he was pretty close, and I think that they will have success against a much weaker defense than they had to play last week. And on the flip side, I think Arizona, this could be a swan song for Arizona. They do need this victory, though. And I guess the flip side is who's going to cover DeAndre Hopkins?
I don't know. Like I really don't like Darius Slay. Just my personal preference. I think he's okay, but I think he's paid like a top 10 guy, and I sometimes just don't see it out of him. Anyway, besides my Darius Slay rant, you know, that could be the big thing. Is like, but at the same time, you know, you could say, oh well, Nuke could go for 175 yards in this game. Well, can he do that kind of every week? So it's just like, you know, maybe Hopkins does go off, but at the same time, if Philly's able to run the ball like they did last week against, like you said, a better front four than it is in Arizona and a better run defense than it is in Arizona, if they're able to do that again, how many touches is Nuke going to get when they're way behind and barely on the field?
Yeah, and the obvious answer is just double team Hopkins. He'll still get open because he's Hopkins, but then double team him as much as possible and just trust that your defense can do the rest, which I think it might be able to. Again, I think in a vacuum, I would say the Cardinals are probably the better team, but I just think that the Cardinals are very matchup driven. And I think this is a bad matchup for them.
Yeah, and you know the other thing is too, you know, Cardinals still control their destiny right now. Obviously, they want to win and, you know, solidify that playoff spot. Eagles are desperate. They have to essentially win out to make the playoffs. So maybe some desperation plays into this one. I think that the matchup advantage leans Eagles too. And, you know, I actually don't think there's really that much that separates these two teams. So I'm going to lean the matchup advantage.
Yeah, I see, again, David K. doing great work in the chat. It says, I think if the Cardinals play zone and keep Hurts in the pocket, I think the Cardinals can run away with this one. I get your point, but I think the reason I disagree is it's just so easy to just run zone busters. And that's what I love about having a quarterback who can run. And I do think that in the next 10, 15 years, every quarterback is going to run.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I was going to get some water, but I expected you to go longer. All right. Let's move on. Time for you to give me a game, and hopefully it'll take more than 10 seconds so I can get a drink of water.
All right. I'll extend this out a little bit because it's always funny to give you this team. Big divisional matchup. Two teams, one game out of the wild card spot. One's really good on offense, but not too great on defense. One's really great on defense, but not too great on offense, although they are coming alive. Your Chicago Bears against the Minnesota Vikings. Who do you got?
Yeah, I hate how this draft has gone now. You got my number one game first, and then I thought I was going to surprise you, and I thought I was going to reach on Eagles Cardinals. You were going to go Cardinals, and I could get a win that way because I think the Eagles are going to win. That didn't work, and now you're giving me this game, which I don't want to choose at all because I hate the Bears. I don't know. I don't like the Vikings either. I'll go Bears. Because the Bears defense has still given Cousins trouble. Cousins, with the offensive line, they can run block, they can't pass block. And I think this Bears offense is better with Trubisky. It's not great. And it was a close game last time with Foles. I think with Trubisky, it's slightly better. I'll go Bears, but I don't know. I hate this. I hate the Bears.
So you want to hear my bold take after all this?
Okay.
The Bears are my 7th seed in the NFC.
Okay, so now we've done a 180. Now you're the guy who is convinced the Bears are good. I don't think they're good.
I think they're going to get the 7th seed by default because they're going to win this game.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
So I think they win this game. They beat Jacksonville, and if the Saints lose to the Chiefs this week, then I don't know how much Green Bay is going to try on that last week of the season. And I feel like that's a game that they could win and then essentially win out and make the playoffs that way at 9-7. And the teams in front of them just fall. I think it's as simple as that. I think that this offense has looked, you said a little bit better. I think it's looked a lot just smoother with Mitch Trubisky in there. He's not a perfect quarterback, but he gets the job done. And he's put him in, I know the fumble hurt, but he has put him into position to win 2 games in the last 2 weeks since he's come back. And Montgomery's actually come alive too in these last 2 weeks as well. I think this could be the 7th seed right here is the winner of these 2 games, and I'm leaning Chicago on it.
It's weirdly not as crazy as you would think. I'm looking at it. The Vikings, obviously, if they lose this one, it's over for them. And then you also have the Arizona Cardinals, where they're 7-6. They play Philadelphia, they play San Francisco, and they play LA. It's not out of the question that they lose 2 out of those. So there's a real chance here. I'm actually not sure who has a tiebreaker between them because I kind of just wrote the Bears off already. But the flip side, and what I always go back to is when we look at these schedules, the Bears also have to beat Minnesota, Jacksonville, and the Packers backups. Like, do you think that do you trust that they can do that?
Yeah, but I almost trust that as much as I trust the Cardinals to beat the Eagles and Rams to end the season, you
Well,
know?
they don't have to be. I mean, they could just beat the Eagles and 49ers. That would put them at 9 wins.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, I just think that this team, has found something, even though they lost that Lions game, you don't expect the defense to ever play like that again this season. And I think that they found something a little bit here. They have 33 points a game in their last 2 games. I think that's a little bit of something that this offense can ride into the end of the season. I don't think this is a good team. I just think, if this team manages to win out like I think they actually can now with the way their schedule is, then I think that they're going to be the 7th seed because I think 9 and 7 is going to be able to make it. And they have enough pieces right now, and they've played good football the last 2 weeks, and I think that they can do it. We'll see what happens, but that's just kind of where I'm leaning right now with the Bears. I think they were a completely fraudulent 5-1. I think that they looked mediocre for a lot of the season because they had a terrible offense for Nick Foles' skill set, and Nick Foles is probably a little overrated as well. But at the same time, it helps to stack 5 wins in the first 6 games of the season because now you have 5 wins. They need to win 3 more now essentially to get in, and I think they can.
Was Nick Foles really overrated? Who is overrating Foles?
Did you see his contract with Jacksonville?
That's true. Well, he just won Super Bowl MVP. A little bit different, but yeah. Let's talk about the other team that's playing in this game, the Minnesota Vikings. They're not out of it either. Now, they would probably have to go 3-0, and they play the Saints, which would be tough on Friday afternoon football. Gotta love it. That's going to be in 2 weeks. Is there hope for Minnesota, or did they have to beat Tampa Bay? Their run offense still looks good against a good run defense.
Yeah. No, I think that they can. I still think there's hope for both of these teams. The road's obviously a lot tougher for them because they play, like I said, this game feels sort of a toss-up to me because I think they're really good offensively but bad defensively. I think the Bears throughout the season have been bad offensively, although the offense is getting better, and they're really good defensively. So I feel like this game's a little bit of a toss-up, but I think just going to New Orleans is really tough. I think especially if New Orleans loses this week, New Orleans is going to come out guns blazing for that 1 seed, and that could be the game breezes back too. That's a really tough matchup for them. Not saying it's a 0% chance, but they have to essentially win out, I think.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Should be a fun game. It's interesting. Both teams at least have a shot, so definitely one I'll be checking out probably live. Let's talk. Now it's time for my turn to give you a game. I am going to go with the game of the week. We don't know who will be quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. At least I don't believe we have. I'm not sure if the news is broken in the past few hours. I was working on a video. But Chiefs Saints, I think it's obvious who you're going to pick, but I do think this could go either way.
Chiefs. Yeah, I don't think that Taysom Hill is going to be able to do enough. And the thing is I don't think Taysom Hill has been necessarily bad. I think he's been fine. I think the one thing that we've seen with Taysom Hill, and I don't know if it's a Taysom Hill thing or just how the offense has played the last few weeks, he doesn't maximize the talent around him quite like Drew Brees does. We were talking about Alvin Kamara. I know I was personally. We were talking about Alvin Kamara as Offensive Player of the Year the first half of the season, and he's essentially done very little since Taysom Hill's come in. Michael Thomas has had a couple good games here, but it's not the same as having Brees on that field. I know he missed so much of the season. I just feel like that real talent on New Orleans on the offensive side of the ball isn't maximized with Hill out there like it can be with Drew Brees. And if Brees isn't out there, I'm taking Kansas City, who's the best team in the league.
Yeah, no, Kansas City is the right pick to make, but I think I'm giving New Orleans a lot more credit here. I think New Orleans. What went wrong for Philadelphia is they lost the battle in the trenches. Philadelphia does that. Philadelphia has been great in the trench. They've done that. That's how they won a Super Bowl back. But is the offensive and defensive line. Philadelphia's offensive line has sort of been up and down, but it had a really good game against the Saints. And I'm willing to sort of write it off a little bit more and say, you know what? Typically they win those battles. This game they lost it. And I think that for Kansas City, I don't think it's been. I'm not going to sit here and say that like they've been a bad offensive line. They've probably been top 10, but it hasn't been elite. I don't think it's fantastic necessarily. I do see a world where New Orleans could get consistent pressure. And if that happens, it could be trouble, which we always talk about. Getting pressure on Mahomes before, that's a big difference. And if their offense can get some points done as well, it's not a huge chance, but I think it's more possible than some other people are giving them credit for.
Yeah, I'm not giving it a 0% chance. I guess I should clarify that. I mean, I'm trying to justify my argument here for Kansas City, but
Right.
I mean, obviously they're what, 3-1 with Taysom Hill, so I don't think it's a complete loss, and I don't think that they have no chance at winning this game. I just don't see it. I don't think they're going to be able to put the points up, and we still have yet to see a lot of teams really be able to neutralize Mahomes. I know this front four is perfectly capable of bringing four at him and getting pressure and also covering downfield, but I just want to be able to see it. I don't know if they had the speed to match with this Kansas City offense.
Yeah, I mean, and that's true. And the one way that we have seen New Orleans get beat is when an offense does have time and they can get beat over the top. No team does that more than Kansas City. But also, I mean, the reality is with Andy Reid and Sean Payton, you can't count either of these guys out. Should be a fun game.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I mean, I think every football fan in America is looking forward to this game, possibly a Super Bowl preview. I just wish Breeze was in it.
Yeah, it does suck. And, I guess who knows, but it seems unlikely. Eli Mullen, the great Eli Mullen, back in the chat after missing last show. Should the Saints start Jameis just for this game? I think that's interesting. I personally would lean towards no, but I could see a scenario where maybe if the Saints are down like 10 points at the half, maybe you put him in and hope he can throw you back in it.
I would say no, just simply because there's a guy named Tyrann Mathieu back there who just loves to get interceptions and create turnovers. And Jameis Winston does not seem like the guy I want to have back there against the turnover machine that is Mathieu and that Chiefs defense. This Chiefs defense isn't great. I'd agree that they'll be able to throw on them, but at the same time, what this Chiefs defense does really well is maximize by creating turnovers. And I don't think Jameis is the guy I want back there holding the football.
Well, yeah, and also I think that the better way to beat the Chiefs could be through the running game as well, which I think Taysom Hill could do. And it's just a different style that they're not used to, so that could help. Although they've played well against Baltimore, so it might not be that big of a deal. And they like to throw the ball a lot with Taysom Hill, so who knows? Should be fun. Let's move on. Time for you to give me a game.
All right. Another divisional match. Oh, no, I'm not giving you that game. Just kidding. I'm going to give you this divisional matchup. This should be a fun one. This one actually played 2 weeks ago, I think, and came down to the wire, came down to a fumble at the very end. Houston at Indianapolis. Who do you got?
Yes, once again, very annoyed. This was my next one on the list. You keep sniping it in front of me. You're doing a great job this draft, Kyle. I don't feel good. Yeah, I mean, you got to pick Indianapolis. They're the favorites here. You have to pick them. But, I mean, there is that upset possibility. We saw what Houston did last time they played. They were very close, and it came down to a fumble at the end. I wouldn't be shocked if this one comes down to the wire as well. The Houston Texans are a good team, and they have a quarterback who, a lot of what they like about their defense, Indianapolis does, is that they can get these turnovers. It's hard to do that against Watson. He's really good. And so I do think that there is a way that Watson wins this game. I also just think for the Texans, we were kind of talking about how even after Hopkins went down, they still were able to have some success through the air because they had some other guys step up. Now their entire wide receiving core is gone. So I think obviously the pick is Indianapolis, but there is upset potential.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's why even, teams like Houston are really hard to pick with or even bet with, because it's like, yeah, the team overall isn't very good, but it's like, are you really going to be comfortable betting against Watson and betting for Phillip Rivers? I mean, that's something that you're probably going to sweat out all afternoon. But at the same time, like in that last game, the Colts had 24 points in the first half and were limited to 2 by this Texans defense. I just don't see that happening again. This Texans defense, I've said it all season, is a complete train wreck. The Colts actually ran the ball really well in that game, and that was before Jonathan Taylor really broke out last week. I think that they could run all over this Houston defense. I think they can throw all over this Houston defense because they can't cover anybody. I just don't see them being limited to 2 points in the second half again.
Yeah, I mean, seems unlikely. Last week was a mess for Houston. They lost 36-7. There was also an all-time terrible quote when Romeo Crennel at halftime was saying, "We're lucky to only be down 23 to a Mitchell Trubisky led team." I mean, this is just it was a mess. I think that they'll want to not have that happen again, but it's just at the end of the day, talent tends to win. I also like how the Colts are coached, and this is this is as bad as it's going to get for Houston. I think I can't imagine they're in a worse situation than this through the rest of Deshaun Watson's time there.
Yeah, no, I agree. And as we're talking about this, I keep thinking maybe I should have put this lower, but at the same time, like I don't know. I feel like since the Texans came into the league in 2002, that these two playing have just brought in like the weirdest results outside of like the Peyton Manning era. So I do feel like this game could be more of a toss-up than I'm thinking, but everything just points to the Colts winning this one.
Hey, there was even a crazy one in the Peyton Manning era, the Rosencopter game back in the day. Shout out to that one. Or no, Rosen. What was it? Yeah. Look, Rosenfels was the quarterback.
That's right.
Yeah, that's where they blew like a 18-point lead in like 4 minutes left in the game. Good times for Houston before. Texans fans, I know you're upset about Bill O'Brien. It was a lot worse before. It's better now. You have Watson. Things are going much better.
Yeah.
Things are going better.
Things are going pretty close to the same.
In the next few years, they'll be better again. Let's move on. Time for me to give you a game. I don't feel good about any of my picks I've given you, but I feel like that this is where my board is. I have to go. It's almost like, in fantasy football, when all the people you wanted to draft just get selected, and you kind of just have to get the best player available. I'm going to give you Chargers Raiders. It's a 3-point spread. The Raiders have been slumping. So have the Chargers. Who do you think can win this one?
Yeah, this was next. This was the one that I was debating giving you before that Houston-Indianapolis one. I am going to go Raiders here. I think they're the better team. I don't think firing your defensive coordinator with 3 games left in the season is a good sign, but at the same time, like, there's just nothing I can really trust about this Chargers team anymore. I know they won last week against Atlanta, but I just don't see them going against a good team and a team battling for a playoff spot and going to Vegas and getting a win here. I got the Raiders winning this one by at least a touchdown.
Yes, I think Eli Mullen was the take of the year. I got Chargers by 46. So Eli Mullen, very confident in Justin Herbert. I mean, that's really the concern for the Raiders, right? Is how much of it was Paul Guenther? Because, well, I do agree that it's not a good sign it's not great for the Raiders that they're now playing the last 3 games of the season with a with a defensive coordinator who didn't start the regular season. It's better than if they had to play the last 3 seasons with Paul Guenther. So like they at least have that. I think that there is a chance that we could see just this get, the Raiders defense struggle here. But I also think there is no chance that the Raiders offense struggles unless, Carr does something crazy, which I don't think he'll do. I think this is probably going to be a win for the Raiders. Although I do think that they would be in better shape. I would like it better if this was on Sunday. I think the short rest could favor the Chargers.
Yeah. No, I think so too. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Carr's going to do anything crazy necessarily. I don't think that. I guess I'll put it this way: the defensive coordinator firing. I think the one thing I'd say about it is like, I don't think it was the wrong move. I just don't think it fixes anything this season. I don't think Marinelli is going to come into this and all of a sudden solve this in the next 3 weeks and fix this defense. I think it's going to be a problem that they're going to have to address in the offseason. I still think this team's just too talented to lose to a team like the Chargers.
Yeah, I think so too. But again, divisional matchups, weird stuff can happen. Thursday, less time to game plan. It should be interesting. The Raiders should win, though. And this is a game that you have to win. I mean, you legitimately have to win. If you lose this, it's over for the Raiders. Even if they win this, it's still not looking great. It's been a frustrating it's just been frustrating for the Raiders. We're the official Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Yeah. And them losing to Indianapolis, them barely beating the Jets, them getting blown out by Atlanta. We talked about the beginning part of their schedule was going to be the tough part. It turns out that's not the case. It was winning the games they're supposed to win. This is the game you're supposed to win. Blow a team out. Win by 30. Do what you're supposed to do against this kind of team.
Yeah, and at the very least, they know if it's close in the last 2 minutes, Anthony Lynn loses it. So
Yeah.
they have that going for them. As long as they're not blown out by that point. Yeah, I mean, jokes aside on that, I do think that this is a game that Vegas has to win, or like you said, it is over. I still think they're in a position right now where they need to win out to get in, but I think it's doable for them to win out with their schedule. That they just, they're at a point where there's no margin for error. They have to play like it.
Yep, I agree. And for the Chargers, hey, you get to watch Justin Herbert. That's awesome. That's fun.
Yeah, that's the best thing you have going for you right now. So that's
Yeah.
better than the Texans. So
Wait, are you saying that Justin Herbert is better than Texans, or are you just saying because of the situation?
Yeah, because of the situation.
I see. Texans are in a worse situation. Not necessarily. I was about to say
Yes.
we
Even
have
though
a
they
hot
have
take.
Deshaun, they also have no draft picks. So
Yeah, that's true. At least there you go, Chargers. Maybe disappointing season. You have your draft picks. Let's move on. Time for you to give me a game.
all right. This is a big one. This should be a good game. One team trying to claw its way back into the playoff picture. You probably have this one a little lower than me because you hate this team. Let's go San Francisco at Dallas.
Okay, yeah. I actually had this one next, only by necessity. Only by I felt like I had to, given that we've been right on this entire our order. My order has been exactly how this has gone so far. I have the Niners winning. The Niners are the more talented team, despite all of these injuries. I mean, in fairness, Dallas is banged up too. So both of these teams, I think, have excuses for the way the season has gone. But I trust Kyle Shanahan to sort of put people in the position to succeed, even if they're backups. I don't trust your doppelganger Mike McCarthy to do the same. I just think that this is San Francisco at this point. Coaching matters, especially when there's injuries. I think coaching matters much more when teams are banged up. And there's no question Kyle Shanahan is a far better coach than Dallas. And I think this matchup works well for them as well, because the real way that the Niners have had trouble is with scoring. If you and I were out there on the field, we'd score points against this Dallas defense. I think the Niners win this one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the question is 49ers are basically out of it, and Dallas is still battling for that division spot. So maybe this game's a little closer. Dallas has played a lot better in the second half of the season. Correction, not a lot better, but they are playing a little better, I think, as of late. So maybe they're in the conversation. They look good against Cincinnati for the Andy Dalton reunion game. But yeah, I think that I do think San Francisco is a better team. I think they have a way, way better coach. It's not just a little bit better. I think it's a much better coach. I think it's a much better system. And I think that Dallas isn't going to be able to move the ball as much.
I almost think there's a better chance the 49ers make the playoffs than the Cowboys, even though the 49ers are 5-8 and couldn't win their division and still play Seattle and Arizona. That's their other two games. I think that there is like a small chance they go 8-8, and there's a small chance other teams collapse. Probably not. But do you really think Dallas is going to go 3-0 down the stretch? Washington is going to go 0-3? I don't see that happening. I think that
I don't think it's going to happen. No, I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to be the first team eliminated, but I think they're in the conversation still.
No, I get what you're saying. You're not saying you think this is going to happen. You're saying the players will, but I don't even think, or the players will at least be holding on to that. I don't even think they will. I think they just want the season to be over. I think neither team has anything to play for, but we've seen San Francisco play well down the stretch, even when they have nothing to play for. Mike McCarthy, the last game he coached before this season was him losing to the worst team in the league, the Arizona Cardinals. The Josh Rosen, I believe that was the Josh Rosen Arizona Cardinals. Yes, it was. When he had Aaron Rodgers as quarterback. I trust Shanahan. And I know I'm just talking about coaches, but that matters a lot in this game, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree with everything you just said. I don't know what's going to happen to Mike McCarthy. I think he's going to get another year. Whether he should or shouldn't, I don't know. But I do think he's going to get another year, and it's been kind of a mess for him. I don't see how this gets better with him at the helm.
Yeah, and I mean, it'll be interesting to I think this game could be interesting just to see sort of the role players that maybe are just fighting for jobs, maybe not necessarily even starting jobs, like, for a backup quarterback or something. That could be big in this one. I believe it's been announced. I believe Jerry Jones said he was going to, or it was, I think one of the Joneses, not Jerry Jones, a relative said.
Stephen Jones?
I believe so. Yeah, he said that Mike McCarthy has another year. So he'll probably it seems like he's got another year. I guess that's fair. The injury bug really got him. But yeah, not exactly the most interesting game, but it'll be slightly interesting. Oh, I think I look forward to watching it. But I mean, couldn't you just see a world where the 49ers win this by 30?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's a realistic scenario right now because I don't know. I think that even though they look good against Cincinnati, I don't think there's much left on this Dallas team. And if they get down quickly, I think it's just going to get ugly because I don't know. I don't know what motivation they'll have left at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a terrible pick though because there is upset potential, but it seems like San Francisco will probably win. I'm going to give you a game. I can't believe I'm giving you this game. 2 weeks ago, this would have been the last game selected. I'm giving you the Balls playing the Seahawks. I think this is again, we're talking best teams that are underdogs. I think that this might be one of those teams. I am giving you Washington Balls.
Yeah, I mean, I will take the Seahawks here. I think this game will be competitive. I got to look this up real quick, but I just don't see any way Washington keeps up with this. I know their defense is obviously really, really good, but I just don't see any scenario where they're scoring. I think Seattle's still able to get 24 points, and I just don't see Washington doing that this week. I don't see it happening. Especially, it seems like now Alex Smith still hasn't practiced. We've seen the Dwayne Haskins show, and it hasn't looked good. So I'm going with the Seahawks in this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's not exactly a hot take, I think. Really, Washington only beat San Francisco because they got some defensive touchdowns. The roadmap to victory is you basically can just shut down Russell Wilson, which sounds insane, but the few ways we've seen teams really have success shutting down Wilson is by getting pressure on him quickly and not letting him get outside the pocket too frequently. I do think this is a team that can do it. I think that this defensive line's good. I gotta say though, I rewatched that game against. I was focused on Chase Young. Chase Young's been good. The rest of this defensive line, I think, is doing a much better. I think he's in a good spot. Is what I'll say. I like what I see from him. I like his potential. I don't think Chase Young is the reason that Washington is in a playoff spot.
No, this defensive line's insane from top to bottom. I believe we were talking about it before the season. This defensive line with him on the roster is like 5 or 6 deep. It's not just even the front four. It's like they have backups that could like start on a lot of teams. I just think that this Washington defense is really good. Maybe they get some pressure on Wilson, they slow him down, but at the same time, I just don't think it's enough if Haskins is quarterback in the team.
Yeah, and this is also kind of another one for Seattle where it's like they always seem to play these close games, but last week they completely blew out the New York Jets, and that was, I think, it was good to see them do what you're supposed to do to a bad team. They are kind of a team that has a history of playing down to the competition. Do it again. Blow another team out. If you're a Super Bowl contender, do that. And if you're Washington, at least say, if you're a playoff contender, at least keep it close.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it'll be an interesting game. I think this defensive line against the Seahawks offense will be interesting and fun to watch. But like I said, I just feel like if Seattle's able to get 25 points in this one, do you see Washington doing that?
Not without Alex Smith, and with Alex Smith, maybe. Well, here's the thing: is that Seattle's defense has played better over these past few weeks. Like I know, yes, they played the Jets, but holding an NFL team to 3 points is still good. And we saw if you're a terrible defense, you don't hold the Jets to 3 points. The Raiders had a terrible defense; they didn't hold the Jets to 3 points. They held the Giants to 17. They held Philadelphia to 17. So yes. They're slightly coming along. None of those offenses are very good. The Eagles was with Wentz. This is another offense that isn't very good, though. So I think I could see something very similar.
Yeah. No, I agree.
All right, let's move on. I believe this is your turn.
Yep. On to me. So this game's just next on my list. I do feel like there is a definite favorite here, but there is still a really good defense. Cleveland at Giants.
Yes. This was last on my list, not because I think it's the game that I feel most confident in, but I was making sure I wasn't going to give it to you because I'm going to double up on this game. I think the Cleveland Browns win, and I think they cover the 4-point spread. I like what I saw from Cleveland last week. I've really enjoyed what I've seen from Cleveland all season at this point. Well, except for the first game against the Raiders or the Ravens, and the first game against the Steelers. I think this is a good football team, and I actually think Cleveland's defense could do a really good job against the Giants' offense. I think that as good as the Giants' defense is, I still I don't see this Giants' defense being able to win the battle in the trenches against Cleveland, because I don't think any team can. I think this is a good matchup for Cleveland. I think Cleveland's a much better team. Giants, they're frisky, but I just like Cleveland in this one.
No, I agree. I think even as good as this Giants defense has been, especially up front too, I think that Cleveland's offensive line is going to be able to move them around a little to run the football. And listen, I said this last Sunday too, depending on the health of Daniel Jones, I just think that Daniel Jones, if he can't move, is not an NFL player. It's may sound kind of mean to say, but at the same time, he's not the kind of quarterback that can rely on his pocket passing and his pocket instincts. And I just think if he can't move, he's not an NFL player, and that's going to hurt this Giants offense to end this season.
Well, yeah, and one thing we talked about this a little bit on our Sunday night show. Again, can't get into too much detail because we're just talking right after the fact. It's sort of first reactions. But their tackles were not the Giants tackles had a really rough day against Arizona. Now you're going up against Myles Garrett. Good luck.
Yeah. That's a bit of a mismatch.
Yeah. I just think, again, I don't think the Giants are a bad team. I think the Giants are mediocre. I think this is a rebuilding year. I think the playoffs they still got a shot, but this is just going to be too tough. And I think Cleveland, coming off of a tough loss, they're going to be fired up, and I think they're going to win.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Cleveland's a better team, clearly, and they still got to lock up that wild card spot, so I think they start to get it done.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts on this one? We already kind of talked a lot about Cleveland.
Yeah, we did. I'm ready to move on. You can give me a game now.
Okay. I'll give you Bills Broncos.
Yeah, so this, there is some upset potential, or not really upset potential, but is there a, overlooking opportunity, or maybe a bit of a letdown opportunity here for the Bills? Because, that big Monday night win was so emotional. I just don't see it happening. I know they looked good last week, but it wasn't very long ago that the Broncos were down by 30 in every game they played. And I just don't see them making up a lot of ground in this one. I got the Bills winning this one pretty handily.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the right pick. No one's going to be surprised by a selection at this point. But I do think that Denver, they impressed me against Carolina. It wasn't amazing, but they did impress me. I also thought they impressed me the week before against Kansas City. And the week before that, they beat the Miami. Well, 2 weeks before that, they beat Miami. And then the week in between was the no quarterback game. So I do think they've been on a much better stretch. They did this last year too, where they started off really slow and then performed a lot better. And so that's kind of why I think they're like a 8-8 caliber team. They would have to run the table to finish 8-8. And I just don't think that's going to happen, because I think Buffalo is they're a really good team. So I do think Denver is a bit underrated, but I also just think that Buffalo is, they're a championship contender at this point.
Yeah, in the way they play, and I think it's just too tough to beat. I mean, that Josh Allen throw to Gabriel Davis in the corner of the end zone, where he shimmy shoulder to the flat route, and they had 3 guys over there and sitting in that zone defense, and he still made the throw because he threw it hard enough and had enough loft on it to make it a perfect throw. There's just no defense against that. So I think Josh Allen gets it done against a worse defense here in the Denver. Still a pretty good defense, but it's not Pittsburgh's defense, and I think he lights them up.
Yeah, I think so. It seems possible. I think the only hope is that you get turnovers, but honestly, that's not really a real concern to have with Josh Allen anymore. I mean, it is a little, but definitely nowhere near it was at the beginning of the season, and definitely not even in the same world from last season. Yeah,
no, I agree with that. I think he's played really good football, and he's an outside MVP candidate for a reason.
Yeah, and the reason is because Mahomes and Rodgers have been great, because otherwise he would be just a straight up MVP candidate. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see for Denver. They're trying to save, a lot of guys trying to save their jobs on there. So big game for them as well. hopefully for Drew Lock, he can continue to show something, maybe give himself another shot, if not in Denver, somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do, right? I mean, I just feel like at the point they're going to draft, they probably keep him for a year and see what happens. I mean, they could go after a vet. I said Sunday that this would be a fun Matt Ryan team because they have so many pieces, but I feel like he's still on this team next season.
Yeah, I still feel like I would like to see Drew Lock with a good offensive coordinator, but really for him and Fangio, which they're kind of tied together, they've both done enough to stay. They've also both done enough to get rid of him. So I think it just comes down to what options do you have? And if you have a better option, take it. If not, then be okay with going for another year.
Yeah. No, it'll be interesting. He hasn't lived up to the hype that you and I both had for him, but I think he's still shown moments that he still has it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I guess the only thing is, sometimes off of a big win, teams come out flat. Maybe Buffalo does that. We'll see, but I don't think they will. Let's move on. Time for you to give me a game.
I'll give you your team here. Just because I think that they're definitely the favorite. I think they're favored by a lot, but these NFC South games, man, they get weird sometimes. And so does this one get a little weird?
I hope not. Speaking of weird, it's just a weird scheduling quirk that Tampa Bay hasn't played Atlanta. We're now going into week 15, still haven't played the Falcons. I mean, that's just bizarre that two division teams haven't played each other at this point. And I do think that obviously Tampa Bay is the better team. These are two teams that have been really difficult to totally figure out what they are, right? They're teams that have been very inconsistent this season. And I think that's your hope with giving me the game, is that you get good Falcons and bad Bucks. But I just think that I think that we saw baby steps in their game last week. I think the lack of possessions made it look like a worse offensive day than it actually was. But we've kind of been saying that a lot. And one of the weird stats that's all of a sudden become like a huge thing for Tampa Bay is time of possession, as if that actually means anything. Like you still get the same amount of possessions regardless of how long it takes you to snap the ball. But everyone's freaking out now about Tampa Bay's time of possession, which I don't understand. They're the better team. They should win, but you never know. Matt Ryan coming off a loss, coming off a bad day, he might want to show something against a suspect defense.
Yeah. So you are taking the Buccaneers.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I do think they win. I think they, are significantly the more talented team. I'm actually really interested in seeing the matchups here. I really want to see AJ Terrell go up against this receiving group because he's been really good the second half of the year. I gave him a really hard time to start. I know rookie corners start really slow out of the gate, but he's been debatably the best rookie cornerback in the second half of the season. And I'm excited to see him go up against these, he's going to get a real trial by fire here against these Tampa Bay receivers. I'm curious to see how he matches up.
Yeah. Over under, I believe Julio Jones is playing. I haven't heard anything about it, but, or let's see, it says week to week for rest of the season. So we don't know if Julio is going to play or not. If Julio Jones plays, over under 150 receiving yards for him.
I'll still go under. I feel like the thing is, like, if Tampa Bay's pass rush gets after Ryan, which I think they will, by the way, that's a terrible matchup, that offensive line going against the pass rush. And Ryan's not always been the most agile guy. I think they're going to be able to get after him, and I don't think he's going to have a lot of time to throw. And I think that's going to be the big problem to limiting Jones to under 150 yards.
Yeah, I just have like Vietnam-style flashbacks every time Julio Jones is playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, going up against the Saints and the Falcons this last decade, I'm sure hasn't been fun for you. But
yeah,
this is definitely the time where the Bucs can really, a lot of this game doesn't make sense. A lot of these matchups do favor the Bucs, but at the same time, the NFC South's weird.
Yeah, no, and even there was the year where it was, or the era where it was Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, and Jameis Winston. Was not the best team to choose in that, and we'll see how it goes. But hopefully for Tampa Bay, and I like what you said about the pass rush. That was probably the most promising thing Tampa Bay showed last week against Minnesota, was they got consistent pressure against the poor offensive line. To do that again, they should be all right. let's move on. Now it's time for me to give you a game. I am going to give you not a lot of great games left. So that was the last game that is a less than 7-point spread. I'll give you Lions Titans here. It's a 10-point spread. The Titans have been a little bit frisky, the Lions have been a little bit frisky. The Titans have already lost to Cincinnati. Who do you got in this one?
Real quickly for me, because I'm drawing a blank on it. What's the line for Carolina Green Bay before I make my pick?
It's 8.5.
8.5 to Green Bay. All right, I'll lock this one up. I'm taking Titans to not only win, it's a big line, but I think they're gonna cover the 10-point line. They're gonna win this game by 1 billion. You said that last week. I'm saying it this week. The Lions have the 4th worst pressure rate in the league. They give up the 2nd highest yards per pass attempt in the league. And guess what Tennessee likes to do in the passing game? They like to throw the ball downfield, and they don't like it when Ryan Tannehill gets pressured. I think they're going to blow this team out of the water. This offense, I think, is going to get 40 piece here. I'm going Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is one of those. The decision is obvious. I think the 10-point spread is a bit dangerous for a lock. I think I would even consider just not locking up a team at this point if I was in your boat, because I think that these spreads are big at this point, and I could definitely see and plus, you're going. Well, I guess I don't know. Is Matt Stafford? I'm trying to figure out right now if Matt Stafford is going to play. I should have done this beforehand. I was busy beforehand. Sorry, but if Matt Stafford is playing in this one, he's the king of the backdoor cover.
Yeah, I think that's the one point. I just am looking at an article right here from Michigan Live that Lions not overly optimistic about him playing, which even just solidifies my walk at -10. But I even think with Stafford out there that they're going to lock this up. I just don't, I don't think the Titans might not punt against this team. This offense, I think it's the worst matchup for the Lions. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything right defensively against this team. And I could see the Titans just completely blitzing them, even if Stafford's on the field. If he's not, then I love this lock. I think they're going to win this one by 40.
Yes. There's fun stuff going on in the chat. So Jake said Steelers are frauds. And then our resident Steelers fan, Eli Mullen, responded with, your mom's a fraud. So a lot of fun stuff going on in the chat. I sort of didn't catch all of what you said because I was laughing about that. But back to, I do think that the one thing I'll say is a lot of those defensive stats are with Matt Patricia as the head coach. And this is a different team. They might actually rush 4 this time. So maybe you'll actually get some more pressure compared to the patented Patricia 3-man rushes. It's unlikely. But maybe that's how the Lions can win. And, yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be a Titans victory. But the Titans defense has definitely been suspect at times. This is one you have to win, though. I mean, this is the one where they have to win by as much as you're saying they're going to win by.
Yeah. No, and I just really think they can. I do think, I've had my questions about this team this year, but this is just a matchup in their favor, I feel like. I feel like everyone's going to have a good game. And, Derrick Henry the last, 3 or 4 weeks might be the best offensive player in football. Mm-hmm. I know those 2 quarterbacks that we mentioned have been really good, but at the same time, he's been just as awesome in his own game too. So,
yeah. Last week you said Devontae Adams was your offensive player of the year. I think it's Henry. I think what Henry has done has just been incredible this season.
Yeah, there's conversation for a lot of guys, but I mean,
still time
you can't hate that pick, because he's been so good.
Yeah, and Tennessee, you have Green Bay next week too, so you got to pick up this one. Don't look ahead. Let's move on. So that was my pick to you, which you doubled up on. Now you're going to give me a game. There's 4 games left. None of them interesting. Who do you got to give to me?
All right, so the last 3 teams are definite Super Bowl contenders playing against the worst teams in football. So I guess by default, I have to give you this game. How does this team keep playing crappy teams? I don't get it. Carolina at Green Bay. Go ahead and pick the Packers.
Well, so I haven't checked. Has Green Bay had a history?
They've played 3 playoff teams this year. They are 1-2 against playoff teams. I don't understand how this team keeps getting crappy games every week.
Well, they have 2 games against the Bears. They're a playoff team.
Well, they're still outside right now.
The Eagles. They're going to squeak in.
I mean, they're still on the outside right now, and they lost that. Or no,
Right
they won
now,
that East
playoff
game. So.
team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right
Well, I
now,
mean,
playoff teams, they're 1-2 against playoff teams.
I don't know. I mean, that's just sort of how the scheduling gods made it, and they did beat the New Orleans Saints, so it's not like it's a team that can't beat anybody. But I get your point. Has been kind of an easier schedule. Yeah, I mean, Green Bay's the better team. Green Bay should win, but I guess there is upset potential. Carolina is sort of the one competent team left that's an underdog, so I do think there's that. But for Carolina too, it's like they've been on this disappointing stretch where we were all so impressed with them. How about win a football game? You're 4-9 at this point. Yeah, it's great that you keep losing by one score, but maybe get a victory here. Maybe beat the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, the thing is that they ended Matt Patricia, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. They did.
That shutout game that was just I don't think
Well,
anybody watched.
there was then the Thanksgiving game, which Matt Patricia lost to the Texans. So that was the last. But it was those two games where the death blows.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they're kind of playing with house money. I don't think this team has a lot of talent. I said it before the season, and with McCaffrey basically not playing this year, it's been even less talent, and they've just played really well, and they're really well coached. I just don't think it's going to happen for this team this year. They're definitely rebuilding, but they have good pieces around them that can make some things happen. Maybe McCaffrey comes back in this game, makes this game a little more exciting. But as of right now, who knows what happens with DJ Moore and him. And I just feel like that's a tough thing.
Yeah, no, it is a tough game. I mean, the Green Bay Packers should win this one. Everyone always loves, again, same thing last year. Like, I think if you're winning games, you're a good team. Like that's how it is. And they're winning games. I do think Matt LaFleur doesn't get enough credit for how good he is. It's a Saturday night game, so that should be fun. I do think it could be an interesting game, and I think that Carolina's pathway to winning would be running the football, which they've had success no matter who's back there, really, at least some success. And, we keep saying that's the road to beating Green Bay. But at the same time, it hasn't quite been as good for these teams. And the Packers offense, Aaron Rodgers might win MVP, and the Panthers defense has been very suspect this year. You got to think for Rodgers, this could be a pad your stats game, especially with the Tennessee Titans next week. Maybe get another 8 touchdowns in those 2 games to try to get that MVP.
Yeah, I mean, he could just try and go for 50 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, this MVP debate's pretty interesting. I think Mahomes has been the better player personally, but at the same time, like the narratives for Rodgers, the stats are for Rodgers. It's pretty hard not to go with Rodgers at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rodgers' numbers are slightly better than Mahomes. It's not drastic, but there is a slight. He is slightly better, and I think you could always argue that Kansas City does have more talent. Although Green Bay's really talented too. I mean, they have one of the best offensive lines in football. And Devontae Adams, a good role player, receivers, and a good running game. Both of these teams are incredibly talented. So,
did you see that? Did you see the Robert Tonyan highlight from the game last week, where he basically chip blocked the defensive end for the Lions into like 2 more guys and took them all down, and you just saw all the Packers linemen standing there. I mean, with especially with him out there, because it's not just that, he's actually a really good blocking tight end. Having those sticks out there virtually every play is fantastic. It's probably the best coverage in the league for passing game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think these last few games will decide who wins MVP. At the end of the day, I think both quarterbacks much rather win a Super Bowl than an MVP, but I'm sure they like the MVP too. Let's move on now. I'm going to give you a game. I'm going to give you not a lot of great games left. So the 3 we have left, Jaguars, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, and Jets, Rams. Legitimately, 3 teams that I think have a chance to win a Super Bowl this year versus maybe the 3 worst teams in football. I'll give you a divisional game because it's a divisional game. I'll give you Steelers, Bengals, but I mean, 12.5-point spread. This one, not exactly the one that I'm going to be starting off my Sunday watching, but maybe it'll get good. Who knows? Steelers have a tendency to play down to the competition.
And look, they haven't looked good the last few weeks. I think it's been very obvious that they haven't looked the part of a Super Bowl contender. But if you need a bounce back week, this is a great week to have it. This is a great team to have it against.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the Steelers by a lot. Brandon Allen's going to look terrible this game. Not that he ever looks good, but Brandon Allen is not going to look good in this game. So Steelers.
Yeah, and I said I'm not going to start my Sunday off with this one until I realized the horrible news. This is the Monday Night Football game because, of course, it is. So
I might not end my Monday night with this one.
Exactly. I might just game pass it after the fact. Spend 30 minutes on it. I'm not going to spend the 3 hours. Schedule makers, what are you doing putting Cincinnati on Monday Night Football in week 15? Did you really have that high hopes for Joe Burrow?
I guess so. They needed to get that one in. So if memory serves me, they actually flexed off the Dallas San Francisco game for Sunday night to put the Cleveland Giants game in.
Yeah.
So we were in for a doozy of night games with the Dallas, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh doubleheader. But they fixed it a little bit, but they couldn't flex out a Monday night because this is just awful.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we should be thankful. We just got the great Monday Night Football game last week. You can't have it all, but yeah, still. Come on. For Cincinnati, is there anything to watch here?
I've liked their receivers this year. I don't think they've been a complete train wreck. I mean, I think they've been better than I've thought. And the other thing is, too, is Zach Taylor's kind of coaching for his job at this point. He can't look completely useless.
Yeah.
He has to show some life. I've liked Boyd. I've liked T. Higgins. So I think those receivers have been pretty good, and that might be fun to see. But at the same time, Brandon Allen has to find a way to get them the ball, and who knows if he's going to be able to do that.
Yeah, and the nice thing for Pittsburgh, I think, is this is the game that you sort of try to fix your flaws a little bit. I ran track and cross country in high school. I remember on certain track meets, our school was the one that was like, I ran for like the school that was like by far and away better than most teams. And so there would be some meets and some races that we would basically just have practice during the actual races. I think that's for Pittsburgh. Don't view it that way, but maybe in the fourth quarter, you can view it that way a little.
I feel like that was a little humble brag to say, hey,
it wasn't because of me. It wasn't because of me. I just happened to be on the team.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that's how they should approach this. Hopefully nobody gets hurt because they've got enough injuries on defense. But, keep everybody healthy and win this game by a lot. That's the roadmap.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I think that's a good roadmap for every team.
Yes.
Keep everyone healthy and win by a lot. I think that's always good. All right. 2 games
except for the Jets. They're trying to lose by a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And get their coach hurt, but that's besides the point. 2 games left. You give me the last one. Tough decisions all around. What are you going to give me?
Jacksonville, Baltimore. Go ahead and pick it.
Yeah, I mean, this is also the one that I had second last, only because of what is last. I mean, the intriguing thing is that Baltimore's defense is kind of it's coming off a really bad game, and it's had its moments. And maybe Minshew, who can run with the football, could do well against a team that loves the blitz and loves to run a lot of man coverage. So you have that, and I believe Minshew should be playing. He entered the game last week. I mean, he should be
supposed to play.
Yes. So again, I still feel like there's a chance that the ownership could call in and be like, "Hey, get him out of there. We want a chance at Lawrence." But no, I think that's the hope for Jacksonville is Minshew mania comes by. But I mean, this Baltimore, I don't think they're going to overlook Jacksonville. They're not that kind of team. They should score 1 million points on defense. This is going to be another classic Lamar Jackson, running all over an opposing team game.
Yeah, I am excited to see James Robinson in this game, but at the same time, I feel like that's the one thing I've said about the Jags all year. James Robinson's there. That could be cool.
Yeah.
But there's nothing really else to look forward to about this game. Ravens by 1 billion. They're going to crush this team.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that Jacksonville's offense with Minshew could be competitive against the Ravens defense. And Jacksonville's defense has played better down the stretch. It has, but there's just no. I just think that Lamar Jackson's too hot right now.
Sounds like Zoolander. Yeah, I mean, this is like the. I'm giving 0% chance for these last 2 games. Honestly, I don't think there's any way it happens.
Okay, so if one of them happens, will you eat dog food?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Dog food. If the Jets or the Jaguars win, the last game I'm giving you is who do you think is going to win? The Jets or the Rams? It's a 17-point spread. I'll say this because obviously you're going to pick the Rams. Do the Jets cover?
I don't know. I honestly almost locked this one up. This
I
was
thought
my
about it
second.
too.
Yeah, this was my second pick behind the Titans.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think the Rams gonna crush this team. I don't really see how whoever's playing for the Jets moves the ball against this defense. It's been unreal. Yeah, Rams.
Yeah, I mean, no, this seems like it should be obvious. Maybe there's this Jared Goff has the worst game of his life. I think Jared Goff would have to throw like 3 pick sixes to lose this game.
Maybe more.
Yeah, because I think that there's a real chance that the Rams defense could score 3 times as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you think so? We have 3 weeks left in this season, in this incredible age of the Adam Gase era. Do you think they let him get off the field that last game, or do you think they just like end it right there?
As in kill him?
No, fire him.
Oh,
Like
end it right.
Honestly,
I wasn't sure where you're going with that.
I want to see like some great spectacle where they do it on like the jumbotron, like they just have it like up right at the end of the game as soon as it ends. Hey, Adam Gase, you're fired. Just make this huge spectacle.
Yes. Yeah, wording could have been better on that. Don't let him off the field. And
Honestly,
end it right there.
What would the difference? They could just publicly stone him at this point.
Yes. Okay. Maybe that's what they'll do.
Not really actually stone him. Just,
Yes. Again, we are joking. We do not believe in murder.
Us.
Yes. We don't think Adam Gase should be murdered. Just him having to coach football is punishment enough.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is there anything really interesting to talk about? The Rams are fun.
Yeah, I think it should be fun to see the Rams play bad. Like I'm looking forward to seeing what Aaron Donald does here. Like I'm looking forward to seeing sometimes it's fun to see a team that is so lopsided. Maybe this is the worst offense in years against one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best defense in the league. So it could be cool to see like just a complete shutdown. I mean, that can be fun.
Yeah. No, I agree. I will actually. There is one thing I want to see. I want to see Cam Akers go in this one. I feel like this could be a big thing if they can get this running the game consistent. Then this probably is a top 3 team in the NFC. I know they're seeded right now as a top 3 team in the NFC. But if they can get this running game going, it's really hard not to pick this team to make the Super Bowl. It has talent just about everywhere else, so I'm excited to see if they can continue this Cam Akers train.
Yeah, they're really good. This is a really good Rams team. I think they will probably do what the Seahawks did to the Jets last week. And for the Jets, hey, hang in there, Jets fans. 3 games away. Could do it.
Yeah, or could go 0-16.
Go 0-16. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, they will do it. I think it's going to happen now.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, I always say I would never root for my team to go 0-16. This might be the exception.
Yeah, I mean, especially the way the Jaguars have played, it's like you've got to lock in. The thing is I actually continue to look at it, and I've seen the Trevor Lawrence is the best prospect since Andrew Luck. Like I kind of agree with that, but we also said that about Jameis Winston when Luck came out, or before when he came out. I know that was only a few years after Luck, but at the same time, I really don't think watching the 2 of them, because it's the biggest storyline with the Jets. I don't think watching the 2 of them, there's a huge difference between Fields and Lawrence in my book. I think Fields is just as good. He reminds me so much of Cam Newton. The only difference is that he's been more trained as a passer than Cam Newton was. He has a lot better footwork than Cam Newton did. And he is a lot more accurate because of those polishing with his passing game than Cam Newton was at his time. So, I don't see a huge difference. And, that's an MVP who struggled with a lot of footwork and mechanics stuff. I don't see a huge difference between Lawrence and Fields.
Yeah, I haven't watched enough of Fields' tape. I've watched a good amount of Lawrence's tape. Obviously, everyone's a fan of his game. But yeah, it's still, you never know. There's been plenty of quarterbacks that were can't-miss prospects. Sam Darnold was can't-miss, and that didn't work out. So who knows? That's why I'm not a big fan of tanking for a quarterback. I think I'd rather just sign. If I'm the Jets, I'd rather trade away the first overall pick and get like a Dak Prescott if that's an option.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I like Dak, but at the same time, like,
well, and plus you get a huge package. You get like the 4 first-round picks for the first overall.
Yeah, probably. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see what happens with this draft and going into the offseason.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, if you get Trevor Lawrence, you still have a shot. I think that someone in the chat very unhappy with me saying that I think that I would trade away to pick. I'm just saying it's an option, but whatever. I shouldn't give my hot takes at an hour and 20 minutes into the show.
I mean, that's the perfect time for hot takes. It keeps people on.
Yeah, it's true. Or it's like a cliffhanger at the end of the show. Tune in next week for what we'll say next.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's a I do think this draft is going to be interesting. I mean, everybody's really hyped for Lawrence. But yeah, I feel whoever gets the number 2 pick out of those 2 teams is getting a pretty damn good number 2 pick in Fields in my book. I know you haven't seen the film, but I think he's the real deal.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of him. I just haven't seen enough that I would give an informed decision. All right, that's our show, everyone. Thanks for tuning in live on YouTube or on Twitch. I saw a couple comments on Twitch, so interesting. We'll maybe do that again. I don't know how it goes, but thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. Kyle, do you have anything to plug this week?
Yeah, just follow me on Twitter at @ByKyleGrondin. That's GRONDIN. That's by Kyle Grondin. On Twitter, I give some pretty outrageous takes and make fun of the Jets every Sunday. So there's that. You can tune in for that. Check me out on Twitter there.
Yes, Kyle's Twitter is great. If you think his takes are hot on this show, you haven't seen his Twitter.
Yes, exactly. I go in guns blazing. That's me unfiltered.
Exactly. This is the buttoned up Kyle. All right. Again, thank you to everyone for watching.
Figuratively speaking.
Yes, exactly. All right. Again, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, have a good one.
Peace.